The alarm started at 0600 hours station time. Commander Sarah Chen was drinking her morning coffee when the first warning flashed across her datapad. Her hand stopped halfway to her mouth. The cup trembled slightly as she read the message again, hoping she had misunderstood. Unidentified vessels entering system. Multiple contacts. Military configuration. Sarah set down her coffee and walked quickly to the command center of New Horizon Station. The station was small by galactic standards, just a research and mining outpost on the edge of human space. 847 people called it home. Scientists mostly with their families, some miners, a few engineers. No soldiers. They had never needed soldiers before. The command center was already buzzing with activity when she arrived. Her second officer, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, looked up from his console. His face was pale. "Commander, we have 15 ships. They're big, military-class cruisers. They're not responding to our hails." Sarah moved to the main display. The screen showed 15 red dots moving in perfect formation toward the station. Her stomach tightened. New Horizon had 2 small defense platforms. They were designed to handle pirates or asteroids, not a military fleet. "Keep trying to contact them," she ordered. "Broadcast on all frequencies. Tell them we're a peaceful research station. Tell them we're not a military target." The communications officer, a young woman named Alice Porter, nodded and began broadcasting. Her voice was steady, professional. "Unknown vessels, this is New Horizon Station. We are a civilian research facility. We are not armed for military engagement. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." The response came 30 seconds later. It was not the response they wanted. A face filled the screen. It was reptilian, covered in dark green scales. Yellow eyes stared out at them without warmth or mercy. When it spoke, its voice was like gravel scraping across metal. "Human Station. I am War Master Zekthor of the Krell Dominion. This system now belongs to the Krell. You will evacuate immediately. You have 1 hour to abandon your station and leave this space. Any who remain will be destroyed." Sarah felt her heart hammering in her chest. She had heard of the Krell. Everyone had. They were conquerors, expanding their territory by force. But this was neutral space. The Krell had no claim here. "War Master," Sarah said, keeping her voice calm, "this system is not claimed by any government. We have legal mining rights here, recognized by the Galactic Council. We cannot simply abandon years of research and infrastructure. Perhaps we can negotiate a shared access agreement." The Krell's eyes narrowed. "You misunderstand, human. This is not a negotiation. This is an order. You have 1 hour." The screen went black. Sarah looked around the command center. Everyone was staring at her, waiting for orders. She thought of her daughter Maya, 9 years old, probably still asleep in their quarters. She thought of all the other children on the station, the families, the researchers who had come here to study alien plants, not to fight wars. "Get me Earth Command," she said quietly. "Emergency channel, and start evacuation procedures. Get everyone to the escape pods." The next 45 minutes were chaos. People ran through corridors with bags and children. Scientists tried to grab data drives with years of research. Engineers worked frantically to prepare the escape pods. But there were not enough pods for everyone. New Horizon had been built for research, not for emergencies like this. Sarah stood in the command center watching the numbers. They had 20 escape pods. Each pod could hold 50 people if they packed in tight. That meant 1,000 people maximum. They had 847 on the station. They could do it. They could save everyone. But then the Krell attacked. They did not wait 1 hour. They waited 47 minutes. The first missile hit the station's power core. The lights flickered and went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. The station shook like a toy in a child's hand. Sarah grabbed the edge of her console to keep from falling. "They're firing," Marcus shouted. "All platforms. They're targeting the escape pods." Sarah's blood went cold. "What?" "They're shooting the escape pods as they launch. 3 pods destroyed already. 4, 5. On the screen, Sarah watched in horror as small dots representing escape pods vanished one by one. Each dot was 50 people, 50 lives. "Gone in a flash of light. Evasive pattern," she ordered. "Launch all remaining pods at once. Scatter them." But it was too late. The Krell had positioned ships around the station. They had firing solutions on every launch vector. Pod after pod launched into space and was immediately destroyed by Krell weapons fire. Sarah watched the counter drop. 16 pods launched, 15 destroyed. 17 launched. 16 destroyed. The station was coming apart around them. Another explosion rocked the deck. Sarah heard screaming from somewhere down the corridor. The air was filling with smoke. Pod 19 away. Alice called out. Pod 20 launching now. Sarah looked at the screen. Pod 19 was somehow still there, still moving. It was using debris from the station as cover, hiding in the expanding cloud of wreckage. The Krell ships were firing, but the pod was small and fast. It was getting away, but Pod 20 was not as lucky. It launched straight into a Krell firing line. Sarah watched it explode silently on the screen. Pod 19 is away, Marcus said. There was desperate hope in his voice. They made it to jump distance. They're going to FTL. Sarah felt a tiny spark of relief. One pod, 50 people saved. It was not enough. It was nowhere near enough, but it was something. Then the main screen exploded in sparks. Sarah threw up her arm to protect her face. When she looked again, the screen was dark. The station lurched violently to one side. She heard the terrible sound of metal tearing. Hull breach, someone screamed. Multiple breaches. Sections 7 through 12 venting atmosphere. Sarah grabbed her communicator. All hands, this is the commander. Get to emergency shelters now. Seal all. The words died in her throat as she saw something on her console. A schematic of the station. The residential section. Maya's room. It was red. Venting atmosphere. Maya, she whispered. She ran. She ran through corridors filling with smoke and debris. She ran past people trapped behind sealed doors, beating on the windows, screaming for help. She ran past fires and exposed wiring and bodies floating in zero gravity. She ran toward the residential section, toward her daughter. But she never made it. The corridor ahead exploded inward as a Krell missile tore through the station's hull. Sarah felt herself flying backward, tumbling through the air. Her head struck something hard. Darkness swallowed her vision. When she woke up, she was floating in space. Her emergency suit had deployed automatically, sealing around her body. She could breathe. But everything hurt. New Horizons Station was dying in front of her. It was twisted metal and fire now. No longer recognizable as the place she had called home for 3 years. Krell ships circled it like sharks, firing again and again into the wreckage. Sarah's communicator crackled to life. Anyone, this is Pod 19, any survivors, please respond. She fumbled for the transmit button. This is Commander Chen, she said. Her voice sounded strange in her own ears, distant and broken. I'm here. I'm alive. Commander! Thank God. We're coming back for survivors. No! Sarah's voice was sharp, urgent. No, you have to run. You have to get to Earth. You have to tell them what happened here. Promise me. Promise me you'll tell them. There was a long pause. Commander, your daughter, Maya, is on our pod. She made it. She's safe. Sarah closed her eyes. Tears floated away from her face in tiny spheres. Maya was alive. One thing saved from all this death. Then you definitely run, Sarah said softly. You keep her safe. And you tell Earth what the Krell did here. You tell them everything. We will, Commander. We'll tell them. The communication went silent. Sarah watched as Pod 19's drive signature flared and then vanished. They were away. They were safe. 12 people out of 847. Sarah floated in the darkness, watching her station burn. She thought about Maya, about holding her daughter one last time. She thought about all the people she had failed to save. She thought about the Krell War Master and his yellow eyes. Something appeared in front of her. A Krell soldier in a spacesuit holding a weapon. It pointed the weapon at her chest. Sarah looked into its eyes. She did not beg. She did not cry. She straightened her spine and met its gaze. You have made a mistake, she said clearly. Earth will come for you. And when they do, you will understand what it means to wake a sleeping dragon. The Krell tilted its head as if amused. Then it fired. Sarah Chen's last thought was of her daughter, racing toward Earth with the truth. Far away on the Krell flagship, War Master Zekthor watched the destruction of New Horizons Station with satisfaction. The station was gone. The humans were dead. A message had been sent to all species who might question Krell expansion. He ordered his communications officer to broadcast the footage across known space. Let everyone see what happened to those who stood in the way of the Krell Dominion. Shall we continue to the next human outpost? His first officer asked. Zekthor considered. They had ammunition and supplies for several more attacks. The humans had other stations in this region, all lightly defended. But something made him pause. A small instinct, a warrior's sense. The humans had fought strangely. Not like warriors, but like desperate parents protecting children. And that one human, the commander in the spacesuit, her final words. Zekthor dismissed the thought.
Humans were weak.
They were talkers, diplomats, explorers. Not warriors. They would protest to the Galactic Council. They would make speeches. But they would not fight. They had never shown the will for real war. No, he decided. We return to Krell space. This victory is sufficient. Let the humans see what we have done in despair. The Krell fleet turned and began the long journey home. Behind them, New Horizons Station was nothing but debris and corpses. 3 days later, Pod 19 arrived at Earth. Maya Chen was carried off by medical personnel, small and traumatized and clutching a stuffed animal. Behind her, the survivors told their story to anyone who would listen. They told about the Krell attacking without warning. They told about the systematic destruction of escape pods. They told about 835 people murdered in cold blood. They told about Commander Sarah Chen's final message. Earth listened, and Earth was silent. Across human space, news of the massacre spread like wildfire. The Galactic Council sent messages offering condolences and calling for restraint. Other species urged diplomatic solutions, negotiations, perhaps reparations. Earth did not respond. Earth closed all communication channels. Earth went dark. In the Terran Defense Fleet headquarters, Admiral Marcus Cross stood before a large window looking out at the blue Earth below. On his desk was a datapad showing the faces of New Horizons Station's crew. 847 faces, most of them smiling, many of them children. His aide entered the room. Admiral, the Council is convening. What are your orders? Admiral Cross did not turn from the window. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, cold, and absolutely certain. Send a message to all fleet commanders. Full recall. Every ship. Every weapon. Everything we have. Sir, what shall I tell the Galactic Council? Admiral Cross finally turned. His eyes were hard as steel. Tell them Earth is busy. Tell them we'll talk when we're finished. Finished with what, sir? The Admiral looked back at the datapad. At all those faces. At all those children who would never grow up. Finished demonstrating that there are consequences for massacring our people. The aide swallowed hard. Should I draft a diplomatic protest to the Krell? No, Admiral Cross said. No protests. No warnings. No negotiations. He picked up the datapad and held it tight. They wanted to send a message. Now it's our turn. Prepare Protocol Nightfall. The aide's face went pale. Protocol Nightfall. The worst-case scenario. The plan that was never supposed to be used. Sir, are you certain? Admiral Cross looked at the pictures one more time. Then he set down the datapad and straightened his uniform. They killed our children, he said simply. What else is there to be certain about? The Terran Council chamber had never been so quiet. 200 representatives sat in their seats watching the screen at the front of the room. On that screen, a small girl with dark hair was crying. Maya Chen was 9 years old. Her clothes were torn. Her face was dirty with ash and dried blood. Someone had wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, but she was still shaking. A counselor sat beside her, holding her hand. The interviewer spoke gently. Maya, can you tell us what happened? Take your time. Maya wiped her nose with the blanket. The alarms went off. Mommy told me to get my emergency bag and go to the escape pods. She said she had to help other people first. She promised she would meet me there. And did you make it to the pods? Yes, a nice man carried me because I was scared. His name was Dr. Patterson. He studied plants. He liked to show me pictures of alien flowers. Maya's voice got very small. He went back to help more people. I don't know if he made it. He had not made it. Dr. James Patterson was on the list of the dead. What happened in the pod, Maya? We launched. But there were explosions everywhere. People were screaming. I saw other pods blow up through the window. They just exploded. All those people. Maya started crying harder. They killed them on purpose. The Krell ships were shooting at the pods. Why would they do that? We weren't soldiers. We weren't fighting. Every person in the council chamber sat frozen. Many had tears on their faces. But they kept watching. They needed to see this. All of humanity needed to see this. Did you see your mother again? The interviewer asked softly. Maya shook her head. No, she called on the radio. She said she loved me. She said to be brave. She said, the little girl's voice broke. She said Earth would come for us. She said Earth would make it right. The video ended. The screen went dark. For a long moment, no one in the council chamber spoke. Then the Secretary General stood up. His name was David Okonkwo, and he had led the United Earth government for 15 years. He was known for his calm, for his diplomacy, for always finding peaceful solutions. Today, his face was carved from stone. "You have all seen the evidence," he said. 835 human beings murdered. Not in battle, not in war. They were researchers, engineers, families. They asked to negotiate. They tried to evacuate. The Krell shot them down as they fled. He paused, looking around the chamber. "The Galactic Council has sent messages urging restraint. They say we should seek diplomatic solutions. They remind us that violence only breeds more violence. They say we should be better than our enemies." Secretary General Okonkwo's hands gripped the podium. "But I ask you, representatives of Earth, what kind of people would we be if we allowed the murder of our children to go unanswered? What message would we send to every aggressive species in the galaxy? That humans can be killed without consequence? That our loved ones are acceptable losses in someone else's expansion?" A representative from the North American Union stood. "Secretary General, no one wants to ignore this atrocity. But are we seriously considering all-out war with the Krell Dominion? They are a major power. This could cost millions more lives." "Millions of Krell lives," another representative said coldly. "I find I am not as concerned about that as I should be." Arguments erupted across the chamber. Some called for sanctions, blockades, diplomatic pressure. Others demanded immediate military action. The debate raged for an hour, voices rising and falling like waves. Then Admiral Marcus Cross stood up. The chamber fell silent. Admiral Cross was a legend in the Terran Defense Fleet. He had served for 40 years, rising through every rank. He had fought pirates in the asteroid belt. He had protected colony ships on their long journeys to new worlds. He had never lost a ship under his command. He was also known for something else. He had written Protocol Nightfall. "May I speak?" he asked. The Secretary General nodded. "The floor recognizes Admiral Cross." Cross walked to the center of the chamber. He moved slowly like a man carrying a heavy weight. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but it filled the room. 23 years ago, I was a young captain. I commanded a destroyer called the Valiant. We were escorting a colony ship to a new world when pirates attacked. They disabled the colony ship and started boarding it. I had to decide. Chase the pirates and leave the colonists undefended, or stay and fight against bad odds. He paused. I stayed. We fought for 6 hours. We lost 30 good sailors that day, but we saved 2,000 colonists. Afterward, people called me a hero. But I learned something important. I learned that when you have power, you have responsibility. The responsibility to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Cross pulled out a data pad. New Horizon Station had 2 defense platforms. Total crew 12. They were researchers, people. They had families. They trusted us to keep them safe. We sent them to that frontier station and told them it was safe. We promised them protection. His voice hardened. We broke that promise, and 835 people paid the price. Now we face another choice. Do we respond with strongly worded letters? Do we place sanctions that the Krell will ignore? Do we do what the Galactic Council expects and play the civilized species? Admiral Cross looked around the chamber, meeting eyes with as many representatives as he could. Or do we show the galaxy who we really are? We are not just explorers and scientists. We are not just diplomats and merchants. We are the descendants of warriors. We are the children of every culture that ever fought to defend their homes. We are human beings, and when you murder our families, there are consequences. He activated his data pad. A document appeared on every screen in the chamber. This is Protocol Nightfall. It is a military plan I wrote 10 years ago, hoping we would never need it. It outlines a complete military response to an existential threat against humanity. It requires full mobilization of our fleet. It requires the suspension of normal military engagement rules. And it requires the elimination of any threat that demonstrates the intent to genocide our species. A representative from the Asian coalition stood up. Admiral, are you suggesting we genocide the Krell in return? No, Cross said firmly. I am suggesting we remove their ability to threaten us ever again. The Krell government ordered this attack. The Krell military carried it out. The Krell War Master broadcast it as a demonstration of power. They wanted to terrify the galaxy. They wanted to show what happens when you stand against the Krell. He looked at the image of Maya Chen still displayed on a side screen, a little girl who would never see her mother again. I propose we show them something in return. We show them what happens when you massacre human children. We show them that Earth does not forget, Earth does not forgive, and Earth will travel any distance to bring justice to those who harm our people. Justice or revenge? Someone asked. Is there a difference? Cross replied. When someone murders your family, is it wrong to demand they face consequences? The Galactic Council wants us to be patient, to be understanding, but the galaxy is watching. If we do nothing, how long before another species decides humans are easy targets? How long before our colonies start vanishing one by one? Secretary General Okonkwo raised his hand for silence. Admiral Cross, if we approve Protocol Nightfall, what exactly are you proposing? Cross's face was grim. We assemble the fleet. Every ship we have. We travel to Krell space. We demand the immediate surrender of War Master Zekthor and every officer involved in the New Horizon massacre. If they refuse, we eliminate the Krell government's ability to wage war. We destroy their fleet. We destroy their military infrastructure. We destroy their homeworld's ability to threaten anyone ever again. That could mean billions of casualties, a representative whispered. New Horizon had 847 people, Cross said. Do you know how many other human stations are on the frontier? 47. That is 40,000 more people who are wondering if they are next. How many of them need to die before we act? What number is acceptable? He looked at Secretary General Okonkwo. Sir, with your permission, I would like to show the Council what the Krell broadcast after they destroyed New Horizon. Okonkwo nodded, his face troubled. Show them. The screen changed. War Master Zekthor appeared, standing on the bridge of his flagship. Behind him, New Horizon Station burned. He was smiling. Let this be a lesson to all who would resist the Krell dominion, Zekthor said in his gravelly voice. We do not negotiate. We do not compromise. We take what we want and we destroy those who stand in our way. The humans thought their stations were safe in neutral space. They were wrong. No one is safe from Krell power. The camera panned to show Krell soldiers celebrating, raising their weapons in triumph. In the background, human bodies floated in space. The Krell had broadcast this to every government in the galaxy. The screen went dark again. The council chamber was absolutely silent. Secretary General Okonkwo stood up. His face was no longer troubled. It was decided. We will vote, he said. The motion before us is to approve Protocol Nightfall and authorize Admiral Cross to take whatever military action he deems necessary to respond to the New Horizon massacre. All in favor? Hands rose across the chamber. Not slowly, not reluctantly. They rose like a wave, like a tide, like the righteous anger of a species that had been pushed too far. The Secretary General counted. His voice was steady. 187 in favor, 13 against. The motion passes. He looked at Admiral Cross. Admiral, you have your authorization. You have the full resources of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have no restrictions on engagement. Do what must be done. Admiral Cross saluted. Yes, sir. I will need 3 weeks to assemble the fleet and plot the course to Krell space. 3 weeks, Okonkwo repeated. Admiral, the Galactic Council will protest. They may threaten sanctions against us. Let them, Cross said. We have tried to be good galactic citizens. We have followed their laws, respected their territories, solved disputes through their courts. And where did it get us? Our people were murdered, and the Council sends letters of concern. He turned to address the entire chamber. Starting today, Earth protects Earth. We will honor our alliances. We will respect peaceful neighbors, but we will never again wait for permission to defend our people. The age of human patience is over. Over the next 3 weeks, something happened that the galaxy had never seen before. Every human ship from every corner of known space turned and began moving toward Earth. Trading vessels, science ships, colony transports, and most importantly, every single warship in the Terran Defense Fleet. The fleet that assembled was staggering. 200 warships from small destroyers to massive battleships, each ship armed with the best weapons humanity could build. Each ship crewed by men and women who had lost friends or knew someone who had lost family at New Horizon. The flagship was named Retribution. Admiral Cross moved his command staff aboard and prepared for the longest military operation in human history. Other species watched the gathering with growing alarm. The Galactic Council sent message after message. begging Earth to reconsider, to negotiate, to show restraint. Earth responded with a single message: "We are done talking." The council representatives panicked. They contacted the Krell Dominion, urging them to apologize, to surrender the officers responsible, to make reparations. Surely the Krell could see what was coming. Surely they would avoid war with a species as numerous and technologically advanced as humanity. War Master Zekthor laughed at their messages. "Let the humans come," he said. "We have destroyed their station, and what did they do? They had meetings. They made speeches. Now they threaten to send ships. Let them try. We have 5,000 warships. The humans have 200. We will crush them and add their worlds to our empire." The Krell began mobilizing their own fleet. They fortified their homeworld. They prepared for what they assumed would be an easy victory. On Earth, Maya Chen sat in a hospital room. She had been there since arriving. The doctors said she was physically healthy, but emotionally traumatized. She barely spoke. She barely ate. She just stared out the window at the stars, waiting for something. Admiral Cross visited her before the fleet departed. He sat beside her bed and held her small hand. "Do you know who I am?" he asked gently. Maya nodded. "You are the Admiral. You are going to fight the Krell." "Yes, we are going to make them answer for what they did. For your mother. For everyone on New Horizon." Maya looked up at him with eyes that seemed too old for her face. "My mother said Earth would come." She was right. She was, Cross agreed. "Your mother was very brave. She stayed to help people even when she knew it was dangerous. She made sure you got away safely. She died a hero." Tears ran down Maya's face. "I want her back." "I know." Cross felt his own eyes burning. "I cannot give her back to you. No one can. But I promise you this. The people who took her away will never take anyone else's mother. Never again." "Will you kill them all?" Maya asked. It was not an accusation. It was a simple question from a child trying to understand. Cross chose his words carefully. "We will do what is necessary to make sure this never happens again. Do you understand?" Maya nodded slowly. Then she did something that surprised him. She hugged him. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for remembering us." Admiral Cross held the little girl and made a silent promise. Whatever happened in Krell space, whatever he had to do, he would make sure Maya Chen could grow up in a galaxy where species thought twice before attacking human children. 2 days later, the fleet departed. 200 ships moving in perfect formation, heading into deep space. The journey to Krell space would take 3 weeks at full speed. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see what would happen when humanity went to war. The fleet moved through space like a school of predatory fish, silent and purposeful. Admiral Marcus Cross stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the stars stream past. 3 days into the journey, 18 more to go. "Admiral, we are receiving another message from the Galactic Council," his communications officer reported. "They are requesting we divert course and attend a diplomatic summit." "Ignore it," Cross said without turning. Same as the last 50 messages. His executive officer, Commander James Holland, walked up beside him. Holland was younger than Cross by 15 years with dark skin and sharp eyes. He had served with Cross for a decade and knew the Admiral better than most. "Sir, we cannot ignore the Council forever. We are still members. We have treaties and obligations." "We had obligations to the people of New Horizon Station too," Cross replied. "We failed them. I will not fail them again by sitting in a council chamber while the Krell prepare their defenses." Holland was quiet for a moment. "The crew is asking questions, sir. They want to know exactly what we are going to do when we reach Krell space. The official orders just say military action is necessary. That is pretty vague." Cross finally turned to look at his XO. "What do you think we should do, Commander?" It was a test. Holland knew it. He thought carefully before answering. The Krell military carried out the attack. Specifically War Master Zekthor and his fleet. They should face justice. We should demand their surrender and trial for war crimes. And when they refuse, we take them by force. Defeat their fleet. Capture their leadership. Bring them back to Earth for trial. Cross nodded slowly. A measured response, proportional. The kind of thing the Galactic Council would approve of. Yes, sir. It would show we are better than them. That we do not sink to their level. Better than them, Cross repeated. He walked to his command chair and picked up a data pad. "James, how many aggressive species are there in the galaxy? Species that expand by conquest?" that take what they want by force? Holland frowned, thinking. 8 major ones, maybe a dozen minor ones. And how many of them have attacked human targets in the last 5 years? 3 major ones, 5 minor ones. Holland saw where this was going. His frown deepened. 8 attacks, Cross said. 43 human lives lost before New Horizon. Pirates, raiders, accidents that were not accidents. And each time we did what the council wanted. We filed complaints. We attended hearings. We accepted apologies and promises that it would not happen again. And then it happened again. He handed the datapad to Holland. These are intelligence reports from before New Horizon. The Krell were planning more attacks. They had identified 7 more human stations as targets. After New Horizon was destroyed and we did nothing, they were going to hit all 7 within a month. Holland read the reports, his face growing darker. These are confirmed? Confirmed. Our intelligence people intercepted Krell military communications. Zekthor called New Horizon a test. He wanted to see how humans would respond to a massacre of civilians. If we did nothing, he planned to take all our frontier stations. Eventually, he wanted to attack the colonies themselves. Cross took back the datapad. So I ask you again, Commander. What should we do? Be better than them? Show restraint? Or make absolutely certain that the Krell never threaten a human life again? Holland was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was troubled. What you are describing sounds like extermination, sir. Genocide. Are we really willing to become that? Are we willing to let our people be slaughtered because we are afraid of what we might become? Cross shot back. James, I am not talking about killing every Krell in the galaxy, but I am talking about sending a message so loud, so clear, that no species will ever again think humans are easy targets. By destroying their homeworld. It was not a question. Holland had figured it out. Cross did not deny it. Krell Prime is their heart, their capital, their military headquarters. If we destroy it, we cut off the head of their empire. The rest will fall apart. Other Krell colonies will have to focus on their own survival instead of conquering their neighbors. And the billions of civilians on that planet? Holland asked quietly. We'll have time to evacuate if they are smart, Cross said. I am not a monster, James. I am not going to order the genocide of a species. But I am going to make sure that when this fleet returns home, humanity never has to do this again. Fear works, Commander. Diplomacy has failed us. Restraint has failed us. Maybe fear will succeed. Holland looked down at his boots. My daughter is 7 years old, sir. Same age as Maya Chen. When she asks me what I did in this war, what do I tell her? That Daddy helped destroy a planet? You tell her you made the galaxy safer for her, Cross said firmly. You tell her that sometimes protecting the innocent requires hard choices. You tell her that you did what you had to do so she could grow up without fear. I hope you are right, sir. I really do. The fleet continued its journey through space. They passed through the territory of the Nexian Confederacy, a loose alliance of peaceful species. The Nexians sent messages asking about the fleet's destination. They received no answer. Nexian ships followed the human fleet at a distance, reporting its movements to the Galactic Council. On day 7, they entered Vorlan space. The Vorlans were a crystalline species, neither aggressive nor particularly friendly to humans. Their ships approached the fleet with weapons ready. Human fleet, you are entering Vorlan territory, came the transmission. State your purpose or be fired upon. For the first time in a week, Admiral Cross responded to an outside communication. This is Admiral Cross of the Terran Defense Fleet. We are exercising our right of innocent passage through your space. We have no hostile intent toward Vorlan. We will not stop, we will not deviate from our course, and we will not slow down. Anyone who attempts to interfere will be considered hostile. There was a long pause. The Vorlan ships held their position, their weapons tracking the human fleet. 200 human warships against 15 Vorlan patrol craft. The mathematics were simple. You are traveling toward Krell space, the Vorlan commander said. This is an act of war. The Galactic Council has ordered you to stop. The Galactic Council did not see their children murdered, Cross replied coldly. Vorlan, I am giving you a choice. You can let us pass peacefully or you can try to stop us. Choose wisely. The Vorlan ships moved aside. The human fleet passed through without slowing. Behind them, the Vorlan commander sent an urgent message to the Council. The humans are not stopping. They are not listening. Whatever you plan to do, do it fast. These are not diplomats. These are warriors and they are angry. But the Council had no plan. How do you stop 200 warships from a species that had always been peaceful, always been reasonable? They had no answer. On day 12, the fleet passed near the hegemony, a large empire of insectoid beings. The hegemony had never attacked humans, but they had never helped them either. They were neutral, interested only in trade and profit. A hegemony delegation contacted the fleet. Admiral Cross, we understand you are upset about New Horizon. We can offer our services as mediators. We have connections with the Krell. We can negotiate reparations, even the surrender of the officers involved. There is no need for war. Cross almost laughed. Tell me, does the hegemony trade with the Krell? Yes, we have extensive trade agreements. Then you are profiting from their conquests. You buy the resources they steal from destroyed civilizations. You enable their expansion. And now you want to protect them from consequences? We are only offering to help. Help? Cross's voice went hard as iron. Where was your help when New Horizon was under attack? Where was your help when Krell ships were shooting down escape pods full of children? You want to help? Stay out of our way. The hegemony ships pulled back. Their delegation sent worried reports to their government. The humans are not the species we knew. Something has changed. They are not interested in talk. They only want blood. Aboard the Retribution, crew members went about their duties with grim efficiency. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone had volunteered to be here. Many had personal reasons. Lieutenant Sarah Kim had a cousin on New Horizon. Engineer Marcus Chen was Maya's uncle. Tactical Officer Roberto Santos had friends who died in previous Krell raids. Every person on every ship had lost someone or knew someone who had lost someone. They gathered in mess halls during off hours, talking quietly. Some were nervous. Some were eager. All were determined. Commander Holland moved among them, listening, observing. He found a young ensign, barely 20 years old, staring at a photo on his datapad. Who is that? Holland asked gently. The ensign looked up, startled. My sister, Sir Emily. She was a botanist on New Horizon. She was 23. Holland sat down beside him. I am sorry for your loss. Thank you, sir. The ensign was quiet for a moment. Sir, can I ask you something? What we are about to do? Is it right? I want the Krell to pay for what they did, but I keep thinking about their families, their children. Are we about to become the monsters? Holland had been asking himself the same question for 12 days. I do not know, he admitted. I think maybe there are no good choices here. Only necessary ones. Is revenge necessary? It is not revenge if it prevents future attacks, Holland said. The Krell were planning to hit 7 more of our stations. 7 more New Horizons. If we stop them now, how many lives are we saving? The ensign considered this. So we kill thousands to save millions? Something like that. Holland stood up. Ensign, war is never clean. It is never simple. But sometimes it is necessary. Your sister died because we were not strong enough, not scary enough. After this mission, no one will ever doubt humanity's willingness to defend its people. Is that worth the cost? I do not know. But I know I would rather make hard choices than bury more children. The ensign nodded slowly. For Emily, then. For all of them, Holland agreed. On day 18, the fleet reached the edge of Krell space. They were 1 day from Krell Prime. Long-range sensors detected massive Krell fleet movements. The Krell had assembled their own armada to defend their homeworld. Admiral Cross called a briefing with his senior officers. The conference room filled with captains and commanders, the best officers humanity had. Intelligence reports confirm the Krell have approximately 5,000 warships defending their homeworld. Cross began. We are outnumbered 25 to 1. Standard military doctrine says this is a suicide mission. No one looked worried. They had known the numbers before they left Earth. However, Cross continued, we have advantages. Our ships are more advanced. Our weapons have longer range. Our crews are better trained. And most importantly, we know we are fighting for something that matters. They are fighting to defend their right to conquest. We are fighting to avenge our dead and protect our living. Motivation matters. He brought up a tactical display. This is the battle plan. The Krell will likely engage us at maximum range with their standard massed fire tactics. They rely on overwhelming firepower to crush enemies. But our ships can take more damage and hit harder. We will use wolfpack tactics. Small groups striking at weak points, then retreating before they can concentrate fire. Captain Elizabeth Reeves, commander of the battleship Vindicator, raised her hand. Admiral, what about the planet itself? Are we really going to destroy Krell Prime? Every eye in the room turned to Cross. This was the question they had all been avoiding. Cross looked around the room, meeting each person's gaze. Here's what I'm going to do. First, we will defeat their fleet. We will show them that humanity cannot be challenged militarily. Then I will contact the Krell government and give them one chance. One opportunity to surrender War Master Zekthor and every officer involved in the New Horizon massacre. And if they refuse, Reeves pressed. Then we show them the cost of murdering our people, Cross said flatly. We will target their military installations, their fleet yards, their weapons factories. We will break their ability to wage war, and if necessary, we will make Krell Prime uninhabitable. Commander Holland spoke up. Admiral, you said you were not a monster. You said you would give civilians time to evacuate. I will, Cross confirmed. We will broadcast our intentions. We will give them time to leave. But make no mistake. If the Krell government refuses to surrender those responsible for New Horizon, their homeworld will burn. The room was silent. Finally, Captain Jackson Lee of the carrier Defiance spoke. Admiral, if we do this, there is no going back. The galaxy will never see us the same way. We will be the species that destroyed a homeworld. Better that than the species that lets its children be slaughtered, Cross replied. But I will not order anyone to participate in this who is uncomfortable with it. After we defeat their fleet, any ship that wants to withdraw may do so without judgment. This has to be a choice, not an order. No one moved to leave. Cross nodded. Then we understand each other. Tomorrow we enter Krell space. Tomorrow we show them what happens when you wake the humans. Get some rest. You will need it. The officers filed out. Only Commander Holland remained. James, you have something to say? Cross asked. Yes, sir. If we do this, if we destroy their homeworld, we will have to live with it for the rest of our lives. Every one of us. Can we handle that? Cross walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. I served for 40 years, James. I have seen what happens when good people do nothing. I have seen colonies burn because we were not strong enough to protect them. I have held dying sailors in my arms and listened to them ask why no one came to help. He turned back to Holland. I would rather spend the rest of my life haunted by what I did than haunted by what I failed to do. Maya Chen will grow up without her mother. Hundreds of other children lost their parents. If destroying Krell Prime means no more Mayas, no more dead children, then yes. I can live with it, Holland saluted. Then I will stand with you, sir. To the end, Cross agreed. That night, every ship in the fleet received the same message from Admiral Cross. It was short. It was simple. It was everything they needed to hear. Tomorrow we make history. Tomorrow we show the galaxy who we are. Tomorrow New Horizon is avenged. For our fallen. For our families. For humanity. Across 200 ships, men and women read those words and prepared for battle. They checked their weapons. They said prayers or wrote letters home. They looked at pictures of loved ones lost or living. And when the sun rose on day 19, the fleet crossed into Krell space. War Master Zekthor received word in his war room on Krell Prime. The humans are here. 200 ships. He smiled, his reptilian smile. Only 200? I expected more after all their threats. Prepare the fleet. Today we will crush the humans and remind the galaxy why the Krell are feared. His aide hesitated. War Master, perhaps we should reconsider. The humans seem very determined. Maybe we could offer some compromise. Compromise? Zekthor's eyes blazed. We showed them our strength at New Horizon. They responded with empty words, and now a fleet too small to matter. They are proving my point. They are weak. Today we will destroy them, and then we will take all their frontier stations as compensation for this insult. The aide bowed and left. Zekthor looked out at his planet from the high tower. Krell Prime, heart of the Dominion, jewel of their empire, untouched by war for 500 years. It would never be the same again. In space, Admiral Cross stood on his bridge and gave the order he had traveled 3 weeks to give. All ships, battle stations, prepare to engage, for New Horizon. The response came back from 200 ships, thousands of voices united, for New Horizon. The battle for Krell Prime was about to begin. The Krell fleet moved like a wall of metal, 5,000 warships forming a defensive sphere around their homeworld. On every bridge, Krell warriors roared challenges into the void, confident in their numbers, certain of victory. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Cross watched them come with cold calculation. Tactical, give me a breakdown. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim studied her displays. 5,000 confirmed contacts. They are arranged in standard Krell formation. Heavy battleships at the front, cruisers supporting, fighters in reserve. Their plan is simple. Rush forward with overwhelming firepower and crush us through sheer numbers. They fight like they think, Commander Holland observed. No subtlety. Just raw power. Then we show them that power without intelligence is just noise, Cross said. Signal the fleet. Wolfpack formation Delta. Let the Krell come to us. The human fleet split into 20 groups of 10 ships each. They spread out, creating gaps in their formation that looked like weaknesses. The Krell, seeing this, roared their approval and accelerated forward, eager to crush the divided enemy. It was exactly what Cross wanted. They are taking the bait, Kim reported. Lead Krell elements accelerating to attack speed. They will be in firing range in 3 minutes. Cross leaned back in his command chair. All ships hold fire until my command. Let them get close. Let them commit. The minutes crawled by. On the view screen, the Krell ships grew larger, closer. Warning alarms began to sound as enemy weapons locked on. Officers glanced nervously at the Admiral, waiting for the order to fire. Cross watched the tactical display with the patience of a veteran. He had fought in dozens of battles. He understood timing. He understood that warfare was not about bravery or honor. It was about mathematics and psychology. It was about making your enemy do exactly what you wanted them to do. Range 100 kilometers, Kim announced. 50 kilometers. Krell ships opening fire. Space lit up with weapons fire. Thousands of plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward the human ships. Point defense systems came alive, shooting down incoming fire. Shields flared as some shots got through. The ship shook as a plasma bolt impacted the Retribution's forward shields. Shields at 87%, the engineering officer called out. Still, Cross waited. The Krell ships were closing in, surrounding the divided human groups, preparing to annihilate them at close range. This was the Krell way. Get close, overwhelm with firepower, watch your enemies burn. They had no idea what was coming. Now, Cross said quietly, all ships execute Alpha Strike. The human fleet opened fire. 20 years of weapons research, 20 years of advancement in targeting systems and power generation, 20 years of preparing for a war they hoped would never come, all unleashed in a single devastating moment. Railgun rounds traveling at a significant fraction of light speed tore through Krell hulls like paper. Plasma lances, superheated to temperatures found in stellar cores, melted armor and vaporized crew compartments. Quantum torpedoes phased through shields and detonated inside enemy ships. The vacuum of space filled with fire and debris. In the first 30 seconds, 200 Krell ships simply ceased to exist. The Krell formation, so confident moments before, staggered. Their commanders screamed orders, trying to understand what had happened. How could the humans hit so hard? How could their weapons be so powerful? But the humans were not done. The 20 wolf packs began to move, not away from the Krell but through them, weaving between enemy ships targeting weak points, overwhelming local defenses before the Krell could respond. It was not a battle. It was a lesson in superior tactics and technology. Target their command ships, Cross ordered. Take out their coordination. The Retribution led its wolf pack straight into the heart of the Krell formation. Her massive railguns tracked and destroyed 3 Krell battleships in quick succession. Smaller human destroyers darted around her like wolves following an alpha, tearing apart enemy cruisers. On the Krell flagship, War Master Zekthor watched his fleet dying and felt something he had not felt in decades. Fear. How are they doing this? We outnumber them. We should be crushing them. Their weapons are more advanced than we thought, his tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. And their tactics. They are fighting like nothing we have seen before. They are everywhere at once. We cannot pin them down. Then bring more ships. All reserves. Crush them with numbers. But numbers were not enough. The Krell had spent centuries conquering weaker species through sheer force. They had never needed to innovate, never needed to develop advanced tactics. Their enemies had always broken before their overwhelming power. The humans did not break. 6 hours into the battle, the Krell had lost 1,500 ships. The humans had lost 18. Zekthor's flagship shuddered as another human weapon struck home. Warning lights flashed across every console. Shields failing, someone screamed. Hull breaches on deck 7 through 12. The War Master gripped his command chair. refusing to believe what was happening. This could not be real. The humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be diplomats and scientists, not warriors. A human destroyer appeared on his view screen, impossibly close. Its weapons locked onto his flagship. Zekthor found himself staring at certain death. Then the destroyer moved past without firing. A human voice came over the communications channel, calm and cold. War Master Zekthor. Admiral Cross sends a message. You are not worth killing yet. Watch your fleet die first. The destroyer disappeared back into the chaos of battle. Zekthor realized with horror that the humans were toying with him. They could have killed him, but chose not to. They wanted him to witness this. They wanted him to understand what he had started at New Horizon. 12 hours into the battle, the Krell formation had collapsed completely. Surviving ships were trying to retreat, trying to flee back to the planet's orbital defenses, but the human wolf packs hunted them down one by one, methodically destroying any ship that tried to escape. Enemy fleet routing, Commander Holland reported. There was no joy in his voice, only exhaustion. Approximately 800 Krell ships remain combat effective. The rest are destroyed or disabled, Admiral Cross nodded. He felt no satisfaction, no triumph. Just grim determination. Signal all ships. Reform on the flagship. Prepare for orbital assault. The human fleet gathered above Krell Prime, 200 ships now scarred and battered but still functional. Below them, the planet's orbital defenses activated, weapons platforms and satellites preparing for a last stand. Cross opened a channel to the planet. Attention Krell Prime. This is Admiral Marcus Cross of the Terran Defense Fleet. Your military fleet has been defeated. Your orbital defenses cannot stop us. You have one opportunity to avoid further destruction. Surrender War Master Zekthor and every officer involved in the New Horizon massacre for trial on Earth. You have 2 hours to comply. The response came from the Krell High Council, the civilian government. Admiral Cross, we condemn the attack on New Horizon. It was an unauthorized military action. We are willing to discuss reparations and— You misunderstand, Cross interrupted. I am not here to discuss. I am not here to negotiate. I am here to deliver justice. Surrender the guilty parties or face the consequences. You cannot threaten an entire planet. I am not threatening, Cross said coldly. I am promising. You have 2 hours. Below on Krell Prime, chaos erupted. The civilian population had watched their mighty fleet destroyed in less than a day. Now they faced a choice: surrender their military leaders or face annihilation. The High Council debated frantically. Some urged surrender. Others called it cowardice. Military officials refused to hand over their own. Pride warred with survival. 2 hours passed. No surrender came. Admiral Cross closed his eyes for a moment, gathering himself for what came next. Then he opened a channel to the entire planet. People of Krell Prime, your government has chosen to protect the murderers of 835 human beings rather than face justice. Therefore, I am giving you this warning. You have 24 hours to evacuate this planet. Take your families. Take your children. Take whatever you can carry. In 24 hours, the Terran Defense Fleet will begin orbital bombardment. This planet will become uninhabitable. This is your only warning. Panic exploded across Krell Prime. Millions of Krell rushed for the spaceports, fighting to board evacuation ships. The government tried to maintain order but failed. The military tried to stop the evacuation, to force people to stay and defend their homeworld. But civilians would not fight after watching their fleet burn. War Master Zekthor, still on his damaged flagship, watched the chaos below and felt his world ending. He opened a channel to the human flagship. Admiral Cross, I am War Master Zekthor. I ordered the attack on New Horizon. This is on me, not my people. If you want justice, I will surrender myself. Just do not destroy our homeworld. Cross's face appeared on the screen. The Krell War Master saw no mercy there, no forgiveness, only cold judgment. You broadcast the destruction of New Horizon across the galaxy, War Master. You wanted to send a message. You wanted to show what happens when someone stands against the Krell. Now I am going to send a different message. Now the galaxy will learn what happens when you murder human children. Please, Zekthor said and hated himself for begging. I will surrender. I will face your justice. Just spare my people. I am sparing your people, Cross replied. I gave them 24 hours to evacuate. That is more mercy than you showed New Horizon. They had 47 minutes and you shot down their escape pods. Your civilians have an entire day and hundreds of ships. How many escape is up to them. You cannot do this. The Galactic Council will. The Galactic Council did nothing when you murdered our people, Cross said. Their opinion means nothing to me now. You wanted war, War Master. Congratulations, you found one. The transmission ended. Zekthor slumped in his command chair, watching his homeworld descend into chaos below. 24 hours passed. The evacuation was chaotic and incomplete. Millions of Krell managed to flee the planet on transport ships, but billions remained, either unable to find transport or refusing to abandon their home. Admiral Cross gave them an additional 6 hours. Then he gave the order. All ships, commence orbital bombardment. Target military installations, government buildings, and industrial centers. Once those are destroyed, target weapons platforms and fleet yards. Leave residential areas for last. Give them every chance to evacuate. The fleet opened fire. Kinetic impactors, massive tungsten rods accelerated to tremendous speeds, fell from orbit like the fist of an angry god. They struck military bases and vaporized them. Each impact released energy equivalent to a nuclear weapon. The ground shook. Mountains crumbled. Oceans rose in massive tsunamis. Plasma bombardment followed, superheated beams that melted metal and stone. Weapons factories became lakes of molten metal. Shipyards collapsed into glowing craters. Government towers toppled and burned. The Krell tried to fight back. Orbital defense platforms fired at the human ships. Surface-to-space missiles launched by the hundreds. But the human fleet's point defense systems destroyed most of them, and their shields absorbed the rest. The Krell weapons, designed to fight primitive species, could barely scratch the human vessels. For 18 hours, the bombardment continued. The planet's atmosphere began to superheat. Firestorms spread across continents. The oceans started to boil in some areas, releasing massive clouds of steam that choked out the sun. Evacuation ships continued to launch, packed with refugees. Admiral Cross ordered his ships to let them pass. Any vessel that flees will not be fired upon, he commanded. We are not here to commit genocide. We are here to remove a threat. But the planet itself was dying. The bombardment had triggered tectonic instability. Earthquakes rocked every continent. Volcanoes that had been dormant for millennia erupted. The carefully balanced ecosystem that had sustained Krell civilization for thousands of years collapsed in a single day. Aboard the Retribution, Commander Holland watched the destruction with a sick feeling in his stomach. Admiral, long-range sensors indicate approximately 40,000 Krell have successfully evacuated. Intelligence estimates suggest 4 billion remain on the surface. Cross stood at the viewport, watching the planet burn below. His face was carved from stone. Continue bombardment. Target remaining military installations. Sir, there are no significant military installations left. We have destroyed them all. Then target the planetary infrastructure. Power generation. Water treatment. Transportation hubs. Make sure this planet cannot support a military presence for 1,000 years. Holland hesitated. Admiral, at some point this crosses a line. We have defeated them. We have destroyed their military. Is this still justice, or have we become what we fought against? Cross turned to face his XO. His eyes were haunted but determined. James, I gave them a warning. I gave them time to evacuate. I showed more mercy than they showed New Horizon. But I will not leave this planet capable of rebuilding their military and doing this to someone else in 10 years. This ends here. This ends now. And the civilians still down there? I regret every innocent life lost today, Cross said quietly. But I regret the lives lost at New Horizon more. I regret the children who died because we were not strong enough to deter aggression. I regret that we are here at all. But we are here, and I will finish this. The bombardment continued for another 6 hours. Finally, Admiral Cross called a halt. Ceasefire. All ships, a status report. Reports came in from across the fleet. 18 ships destroyed in the initial battle. Another 5 heavily damaged in the orbital bombardment. But 177 ships remained combat-capable. The mission was a tactical success. Below Krell Prime was a ruin. The atmosphere was choked with ash and smoke. The oceans were contaminated with radioactive debris. Vast swaths of the planet were simply gone, replaced by molten craters. Sensors detected residual radiation that would make most of the surface uninhabitable for centuries. The jewel of the Krell Dominion was dead. Cross opened one final transmission to the surviving Krell government, now aboard a refugee fleet fleeing into deep space. War Master Zekthor, if you are listening, you wanted to send a message at New Horizon. You wanted to show the galaxy that the Krell were strong, that you could take what you wanted without consequences. I hope you are watching now. I hope you see what your actions cost your people. He paused, letting his words sink in. But I am not without mercy. The 40,000 Krell who evacuated will be given asylum on a human colony world. They will be treated fairly, fed, housed, and protected. Their children will grow up safe. In time, if they wish, they may help rebuild a Krell civilization somewhere else in the galaxy. Cross's voice hardened. But it will be a different civilization. One that understands that actions have consequences. One that knows that humanity will not tolerate the murder of our people. You wanted the galaxy to fear the Krell. Now the galaxy will fear what happens when you cross humanity. He closed the channel and turned to Commander Holland. Signal the fleet. We are going home. As the human armada turned and began the long journey back to Earth, they left behind a planet that would serve as a monument. A warning. A lesson carved into a world that would not support life for 10,000 years. The Krell Dominion, which had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, had been broken in a single day. Not by superior numbers, not by ancient technology, not by the intervention of advanced beings. By humans, by a species that wanted only peace but had finally learned that peace sometimes required the willingness to wage total war. The journey home would take 3 weeks. Admiral Cross stood at the viewport of the Retribution, looking back at the dying planet behind them, and wondered if he had saved humanity or stained it forever. History would decide. He had done what he thought was necessary. Now he would have to live with it. Behind him, Commander Holland approached. The crew is asking about the Krell we let escape. Should we hunt them down?
No, Cross said.
Let them live. Let them spread the story of what happened here. Let every species in the galaxy hear about the day the humans stopped being patient and started being feared. And if someone else attacks us, Cross turned from the viewport, his eyes hard. Then they will learn the same lesson. We gave peace a chance. For decades, we tried diplomacy and restraint. It got us 835 dead innocents. From now on, Earth protects its own, and anyone who threatens us will face the same judgment the Krell received. That is a harsh policy, sir. It is a necessary policy, Cross corrected. The galaxy respects strength. We showed them weakness and they killed our children. Now we have shown them strength. Maybe now they will leave us alone. The fleet jumped to FTL, leaving the Krell system behind. Throughout the galaxy, species watched and learned. The humans, those peaceful explorers and diplomatic scientists, had become something else. Something dangerous. Something to be respected, feared, and never ever provoked. On Earth, Maya Chen watched the news broadcasts with her counselor. She saw the images of Krell Prime, a planet reduced to fire and ash. She saw the numbers. Billions dead, a civilization broken. Is it over? She asked quietly. Yes, her counselor said. It is over. Maya nodded slowly. She thought about her mother, about Commander Sarah Chen's final words. Earth would come. Earth would make it right. They remembered, Maya whispered. They remembered us all. The counselor put an arm around the little girl's shoulders. They will never forget, Maya. None of us will ever forget. And across human space, in every colony and station, in every ship and outpost, a new understanding took hold. Humanity had changed. The age of patient diplomacy was over. The age of overwhelming response had begun. They had attacked a human outpost. Earth had silenced them by wiping out their homeworld, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Terran Defense Fleet arrived at Earth 32 days after leaving Krell space. They came home not to celebrations, but to silence. The entire planet seemed to be holding its breath, waiting to see what they had become. Admiral Marcus Cross stood on the bridge of the Retribution as Earth grew larger on the view screen. He had spent the 3-week journey preparing reports, reviewing casualty lists, and trying to sleep without dreaming of a burning planet. He had not been very successful with that last part. Sir, we are receiving landing clearances, the communications officer reported. Earth Command requests you report immediately for debriefing. Cross nodded. He had expected this. What he had done in Krell space would be analyzed, questioned, and judged by people who had not been there. People who had not watched the footage of escape pods being destroyed. People who had not carried the weight of 835 dead souls. Acknowledge the order, he said. Commander Holland, you have the fleet. Get these people home safely. Holland saluted. Yes, sir. And Admiral, whatever happens down there, you did what needed to be done. The crew stands with you. Cross managed a tired smile. Thank you, James. Take care of them for me. 6 hours later, Admiral Cross walked into the Terran Council chamber, the same room where 5 weeks earlier, they had voted to approve Protocol Nightfall. The same representatives sat in their seats, but now they looked at him differently, some with gratitude, some with horror, all with a new kind of respect that tasted like fear. Secretary General David Okonkwo stood at the podium. His face was impossible to read. Admiral Cross, you are here to deliver your report on the Krell operation. Cross walked to the center of the chamber. He carried a data pad with all his official reports, but he did not look at it. He spoke from memory, from the heart. Mr. Secretary, representatives of Earth, I am here to report on the complete success of our mission. The Krell military fleet has been destroyed. Their homeworld has been rendered incapable of supporting military operations for the foreseeable future. War Master Zekthor and the officers responsible for the New Horizon massacre are either dead or captured and awaiting trial. He paused. I am also here to report that approximately 4 billion Krell civilians died during the bombardment of Krell Prime. An additional 40,000 evacuated successfully and are currently under human protection. Our own losses: 23 ships destroyed, 147 damaged. Total human casualties: 3,208 killed in action, 4,091 wounded. The chamber was silent. The numbers hung in the air like a physical weight. A representative from the European Alliance stood up. Her name was Counselor Maria Vasquez, and she had voted against Protocol Nightfall 5 weeks ago. Admiral Cross, you just admitted to causing the deaths of 4 billion sentient beings. How do you justify this? How do you sleep at night? Cross met her eyes without flinching. I do not sleep well, Counselor. Every night I see that planet burning. Every night I wonder if there was another way. But then I remember New Horizon. I remember children blown apart in escape pods. I remember that the Krell had plans to attack 7 more of our stations. I remember that they wanted to send a message about Krell strength. His voice hardened. So we sent a different message. We showed the galaxy what happens when you murder human families. Do I like what we had to do? No. Do I regret it? Ask me again when another species considers attacking us and decides not to because they remember Krell Prime. You are saying the ends justify the means, Vasquez said. I am saying that protecting our people justifies hard choices, Cross replied. Counselor, you voted against this operation. I respect that. But answer me honestly. If we had done nothing, if the Krell had destroyed 7 more stations and killed thousands more humans, would you have felt better? Would your conscience be cleaner? Vasquez sat down without answering. Secretary General Okonkwo raised his hand for silence. The question before us is not whether what happened at Krell Prime was justified. That debate will continue for generations. The question is what we do now. How does Earth move forward? What is our relationship with the Galactic Council? What is our policy toward other species? He looked at Admiral Cross. Admiral, you have spent 40 years serving humanity. You understand war and diplomacy. What would you recommend? Cross took a deep breath. This was the moment he had been preparing for during the long journey home. Mr. Secretary, I recommend we establish a new doctrine for human foreign policy. We should remain open to diplomacy and cooperation with peaceful species. We should honor our alliances and trade agreements. But we should also make it absolutely clear that any attack on human civilians will be met with overwhelming and immediate retaliation. The doctrine of disproportionate response, someone murmured. No, Cross said firmly. The doctrine of certainty. Let every species know with certainty what will happen if they harm our people. Remove all doubt. Remove all ambiguity. Make it so clear that no one will ever make the same mistake the Krell did. A representative from the African Union stood. Admiral, the Galactic Council is already talking about sanctions against us. They are calling what happened at Krell Prime genocide. They want to put you on trial for war crimes. How do we respond to that? Cross smiled without humor. Let them talk. Let them vote on their sanctions. And then let us remind them that we defended ourselves against an unprovoked attack on civilians. Let us ask them where they were when the Krell were murdering our people. Let us ask them how many strongly worded letters they sent while we buried our dead. He looked around the chamber. The Galactic Council has shown us that they care more about preserving the status quo than protecting innocent lives. They will condemn us for defending ourselves while saying nothing about the species that attacked us first. So I say we ignore them. We build our own alliances with species that share our values. We protect ourselves and those who stand with us. And we let the Council debate while we act. Okonkwo nodded slowly. Admiral, you speak with the authority of experience. But you are also tired. You have carried a heavy burden. I am ordering you to take 6 months' leave. Rest, recover, spend time with your family. Let someone else carry the weight for a while. Cross wanted to argue, but he knew Okonkwo was right. He was exhausted in a way that sleep could not fix. Yes, sir. But before I go, may I make one request? Of course. The 40,000 Krell refugees we rescued. I promised them asylum and protection. I would like the Council to honor that promise. They had nothing to do with New Horizon. Many of them opposed their government's military expansion. They deserve a chance to rebuild their lives. There was murmuring in the chamber. Some representatives looked uncomfortable at the idea of helping Krell after what had happened. But Secretary General Okonkwo nodded. Your request is granted. We will settle the Krell refugees on New Harmony Colony. They will be monitored, but they will be treated fairly. Is that acceptable, Admiral? Yes, sir. Thank you. Cross saluted one last time and walked out of the chamber. Behind him the debate continued, but he was done. He had carried his burden as far as he could. Now it was someone else's turn. 3 days later, Admiral Marcus Cross stood in a cemetery on the outskirts of Geneva. 835 graves, each with a simple marker bearing a name and the date of New Horizons' destruction. At the center stood a large memorial stone with all the names carved into it. Cross walked slowly among the graves, reading each name. Dr. James Patterson, the botanist who had carried Maya to safety. Engineer Carlos Mendez, who had stayed at his post, trying to restore power to the escape pods. Commander Sarah Chen, who had spent her last minutes trying to save her people. So many names. So many lives cut short. They say you are a hero. Cross turned. A young woman stood behind him, maybe 30 years old, with kind eyes and a visitor's badge. I am sorry, do I know you? No, sir. My name is Rachel Patterson. My brother James died on New Horizon. He was a botanist there, Cross remembered. The man who had carried Maya, who had gone back to help others. Your brother saved a child's life before he died. He was very brave, Rachel smiled sadly. He was always like that, always helping others. When I heard about what you did at Krell Prime, I did not know how to feel. James would not have wanted revenge. He believed in peace and understanding. I know, Cross said quietly. That is what makes this so hard. The people we avenged would not have wanted what we did. They were better than us. They believed in a gentler world. But they are dead, Rachel said, tears in her eyes. And you are alive. You did what you thought was necessary to protect the rest of us. I cannot say if it was right or wrong, but I can say thank you. Thank you for making sure my brother's death was not ignored. Thank you for showing the galaxy that human lives matter. Cross felt his own eyes burning. I wish I could have saved them. I wish we had been strong enough to prevent this instead of strong enough to avenge it. Maybe next time you will be, Rachel said. She placed flowers on her brother's grave and walked away, leaving Cross alone with the dead. In the following weeks, the galaxy reacted to what had happened at Krell Prime. The reactions were varied and telling. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. They debated sanctions against humanity for 2 weeks. In the end, they passed a resolution condemning the destruction of Krell Prime, but stopped short of actual penalties. No one wanted to risk angering the humans further. Several species that had been considering hostile actions against human targets quietly canceled their plans. Trade routes that had been dangerous suddenly became safe as pirates and raiders avoided any ship flying human colors. The Vorlon Confederacy, which had confronted the human fleet on its way to Krell space, sent a formal apology and a request for a mutual defense treaty. We wish to be your friends, not your enemies, their ambassador said. We have seen what happens to your enemies. The hegemony, the insectoid traders who had offered to mediate, suddenly became very generous in their trade agreements with humanity. Prices dropped. Terms became favorable. No one said it out loud, but everyone understood. Keeping humans happy was good for business and good for survival. But the most significant reaction came from the remaining Krell territories. The Dominion, which had controlled 100 systems and threatened dozens more, collapsed within a month. Without Krell Prime to coordinate their military and government, the outlying colonies turned on each other or sued for peace with their neighbors. The species that the Krell had conquered and oppressed for centuries suddenly found themselves free. Some sent messages of thanks to Earth. Others remained silent, unsure if trading one dangerous power for another was an improvement. 5 weeks after the fleet returned, Admiral Cross received an unexpected visitor. He was at his home in Montana trying to enjoy his mandatory leave when a government car arrived. Commander James Holland stepped out, now wearing the insignia of a rear admiral. "Sir, I hope I am not disturbing you." "James." Cross was genuinely happy to see his former XO. "Congratulations on the promotion." "You earned it." They sat on Cross's porch looking out at the mountains. Holland handed him a data pad. "You should see this, sir. Intelligence reports from the frontier." Cross read through the reports. Ship traffic through human space was up. Attacks on human vessels were down to 0. 3 species had requested defensive alliances. 5 more had sent gifts and offerings of friendship. "It is working," Holland said quietly. "No one wants to be the next Krell. No one wants to see what happens when they push humanity too far." "So we have peace through fear," Cross said. "Is that really better than what we had before?" "We had 8 attacks in 5 years before New Horizon," Holland replied. "We have had 0 in the 5 weeks since Krell Prime. Yes, sir, I think it is better. Our people are safer." Cross set down the data pad. "Tell me honestly, James, did we do the right thing? Or did we become monsters?" Holland was quiet for a long moment. "I think we did a monstrous thing for a good reason. I think we will carry the weight of Krell Prime for the rest of our lives. But I also think that when I look at my daughter, when I know she is safer because of what we did, I can live with that weight." He stood up. "The fleet is asking about you, sir. They want to know if you are coming back." Cross shook his head. "I am done, James. It is time for younger leaders. People who can build a future instead of haunting the past. You could do both. Maybe, but I do not want to. I have given 40 years to the fleet. I have fought my last battle. Now I just want to watch the mountains and try to remember how to sleep through the night." Holland saluted. "Then rest well, sir. You earned it, and if you ever need anything, you know where to find me." After Holland left, Cross sat on his porch until the sun set. He thought about all the decisions he had made, all the lives lost and saved. He thought about whether the future would judge him as a hero or a villain. In the end, he decided it did not matter. He had done what he thought was right at the time with the information he had. History would make its own judgments. He could not control that. He could only control whether he lived with integrity and purpose moving forward. 10 years passed. The galaxy learned to live with the new reality. Humanity was no longer the friendly explorers, no longer the patient diplomats who could be pushed around. They were a major power, respected and feared in equal measure. The doctrine of overwhelming response became official Earth policy. Any attack on human civilians, any aggression toward human territory would be met with immediate and total military retaliation. No warnings, no negotiations, just consequence. And it worked. Human space became one of the safest regions in the galaxy. Species that wanted peace and trade found Earth to be a generous and reliable partner. Species that wanted conflict found other targets. The Krell refugees on New Harmony Colony had built a new community. They lived under human protection and governance, and they taught their children about the cost of aggressive expansion. A generation of young Krell grew up knowing that their homeworld had been destroyed not because they were evil, but because their leaders had chosen war over wisdom. Maya Chen grew up to become a diplomat. She spent her life working to build understanding between species, to find peaceful solutions before they escalated to violence. She never forgot her mother, never forgot New Horizon, but she chose to honor that memory by preventing future tragedies rather than avenging past ones. Admiral Marcus Cross lived quietly in Montana. He wrote a memoir about the Krell campaign, not to justify his actions, but to ensure people understood the full cost of war. The book became required reading at the Terran Defense Academy. Future officers learned not just the tactics of the battle, but the moral weight of command decisions. He received many visitors over the years, veterans of the campaign, families of those lost at New Horizon, scholars studying military history. He spoke honestly with all of them about his doubts, his nightmares, his belief that he had done something terrible for necessary reasons. On the 10th anniversary of the Krell campaign, Cross was invited to speak at the New Horizon Memorial. He was 73 years old now, his hair white, his steps slow. But his mind was still sharp and his voice was still clear. 10 years ago, 835 people died because we were not strong enough to deter aggression, he said to the crowd gathered at the memorial. We responded with overwhelming force. We destroyed a homeworld. We killed billions. It was the most controversial action in human history. He paused, looking at the names carved in stone. I will not stand here and tell you it was justified. I will not tell you it was right. I will only tell you that I believed it was necessary. And I will tell you that in the 10 years since, not a single human civilian has been killed by foreign aggression. Not one. 0 attacks. 0 casualties. Cross looked out at the crowd. Many were families of New Horizon victims. Many were young people who had grown up in the safer galaxy his actions had created. Was the price too high? That is for you to decide. All I can say is that I made the choice I thought would protect the most lives. I ended one threat completely. Absolutely. So that we would never have to fight that fight again. Whether that was wisdom or atrocity, history will judge. In the crowd, Maya Chen watched the old admiral speak. She was 29 now, a successful negotiator who had helped resolve conflicts between multiple species. She had dedicated her life to finding alternatives to what had happened at Krell Prime. After the ceremony, she approached Cross. They had met several times over the years, but always briefly, always awkwardly. The man who had avenged her mother and the girl who had lived because of that vengeance had an odd relationship. Admiral, she said, thank you for speaking today. Cross smiled at her. You have done well, Maya. Your mother would be proud. You have saved more lives through diplomacy than I ever did through war. Because of the deterrent you created, Maya pointed out. The species I negotiate with are willing to talk because they know what happens if they choose violence instead. We work together, Admiral. My way only works because of what you did. And I only did what I did because of what they did to people like your mother, Cross replied. It is all connected. Action and reaction. Cause and effect. The cycle of violence and peace. They stood together at the memorial looking at the names. After a moment, Maya asked the question she had wanted to ask for years. Do you regret it? Krell Prime? Cross considered the question carefully. I regret that it was necessary. I regret every life lost, Krell and human both. But do I regret the decision? No, because the alternative was accepting that humans could be slaughtered without consequence, and that was not acceptable to me. Even if it made us feared instead of liked? Better feared than victimized, Cross said. Better strong than sympathetic. The galaxy does not respect kindness, Maya, it respects power. We showed them we have both the power and the will to use it. That is why you can do your diplomatic work now. That is why species sit down and talk instead of shooting first. Maya nodded slowly. I suppose we need both then. People like you who set the boundaries and people like me who work within them. Exactly, Cross agreed. You are the face of human compassion and intelligence. I was the example of human fury when pushed too far. Together we show the galaxy the complete picture of who we are. As the sun set over the memorial, Cross and Maya stood together in companionable silence. Around them, families came and went, leaving flowers, saying prayers, remembering those lost 10 years ago. And throughout the galaxy, on ships and stations and government chambers and military academies, people told the story. They told about New Horizon, about the Krell's fatal mistake, about the human fleet that traveled 3 weeks for revenge and changed the balance of power in the galaxy. They told about Admiral Cross, the man who destroyed a world to save countless others. Some called him a hero. Some called him a war criminal. Most called him both. But everyone, from the most peaceful species to the most aggressive warriors, agreed on one thing. Do not wake the humans. Do not threaten their families. Do not mistake their preference for peace as weakness. Because humanity had shown the galaxy that they would cross any distance, pay any price, and carry any burden to protect their own. They had proven that their capacity for compassion was matched only by their capacity for destruction. And in the ruins of Krell Prime, still barren and radioactive 10 years later, stood a monument placed by the Terran Defense Fleet. A simple marker with words carved in every major galactic language. Here died a civilization that forgot the most important rule of warfare. Never attack those who have more to lose than you do.